Hi you guys, today I'm going to share with you my recipe for gluten-free sweet potato pie. I've been making this pie for years and it is always a mystery to me why more people don't even talk about sweet potato pie. Sweet potato pie is like way better to me than pumpkin pie. It has that actual sweet potato flavor. It's not overloaded with a lot of spices, and of course it has this mile-high layer of Italian meringue. So let's get into it. However you want to prepare your sweet potatoes is fine. Sometimes I bake them. This time I am chopping them up. I'm going to put them in a big pot, cover them with cold water, boil them until tender, and then mash them and cool them. And I did not get a video of me mashing them. I apologize, but it's just, mashing potatoes. Everybody can do it. So on with the pie crust. This is my pie crust, which you probably see me make several hundred times already if you've been following my channel. If not, I'll leave a link above for that original video that shows you exactly how to make it. It is super simple to make. It is extremely easy and just a dream to work with, as you can see. And it is delicious, of course. It's very flaky and it's just the best pie crust ever. So I'm lining my pie pan with it, and this is just a one crust pie. And then I'm going to take my kitchen shears and go around the outside and just cut off that excess, which I will not discard because I'm going to make like pie crust snacks out of it, like my mom used to do when I was little, with cinnamon and sugar and all that. So just go around and do that, and then crimp the edges as you would like. And we're going to put this in the freezer for about 10 minutes until it's nice and chilled and firm. And in the meantime, I'll go ahead and preheat my oven to 425 Fahrenheit. All right, this is out of the freezer, nice and firm. I'll prick it with a fork several times on the bottom just to make sure it doesn't puff up. And then I have a crinkled up piece of parchment here that I'm just going to line the pan with. And I'm going to put my pie weights in. This time I'm using rice. Sometimes I use beans. Sometimes I'll even use sugar. So whatever you have that you can go in. You won't be using this rice now just to make rice because it's been affected now. But make sure you fill it all the way to the top. That really helps to avoid your pie crust shrinking down as it bakes. So we're baking this at 425 for 15 to 20 minutes, or until the edges are nice and light and brown like this. It still looks a little raw on the bottom, which is exactly what you want for a par-baked pie crust. So we're going to set this aside and get on with our filling. All right, I've got 2/3 cup or 160 ml of whole milk that I'm pouring into my blender. You can also do this in a food processor or even in a bowl. I just like mine ultra smooth. And I'm adding to that 1 cup or 200 grams of granulated sugar, 1 to 2 teaspoons of vanilla, and a tablespoon of molasses, a half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 2 large egg yolks plus 3 large eggs, 2 tablespoons or 28 grams of melted and slightly cooled butter, and of course the star ingredient, 2 cups or 480 grams of mashed and cooled sweet potatoes. We'll put the lid on and we'll blend it on high for about 30 seconds or so. That's really all we need. I'll grab the par-baked crust and we'll pour it right in there. And we're going to bake this for 50 to 55 minutes or until the center still jiggles slightly. And I actually over-baked mine just a tad. I probably went over by 5 to 7 minutes. As you can see, it doesn't jiggle. So I bet there's going to be a crack later. But that's okay because it's going to be covered up with a mile high of Italian meringue. So I'm just going to get my little crust shield off, and I'm going to let that cool completely and then refrigerate it for at least 2 hours while we get on with making the meringue. Now, this is an Italian meringue, so they always start with a sugar syrup. So I've got my small saucepan, and to that I've added 85 grams of water, and I'm adding 256 grams of sugar. And if you notice, I'm very carefully pouring the sugar in so none of it touches the side. And I want all of the sugar to get wet, like wet sand. If you don't do that, it's not a big deal, but you will have to wash the sides of the pan down with a pastry brush dipped in water to avoid sugar crystals from forming. If you don't touch it and let it sit like this and just bring it to a boil just like this, you won't have to worry about any sugar crystals. So I have not touched it. It started to boil. It's over medium heat. And I'm clipping on my candy thermometer, and I'm going to let it go to 235 Fahrenheit. All right, we are at 235 Fahrenheit, so I'm going to start whipping my egg whites. And this is 5 egg whites, which is 128 grams. And I also added to this 1/4 teaspoon each of cream of tartar and salt. And I'm whisking this on high, and I'm going to whisk it to stiff peaks until this sugar syrup reaches 245 degrees. So that's another 10 degrees higher. And now my egg whites are ready. They both should be ready right at the same time. If not, turn off the sugar syrup and wait for the egg whites. But as you can see, I am pouring the sugar syrup in slowly and carefully. And I'll get a little closer here. You can see I'm going right between where the whisk hits and on the side of the bowl. If you get it right at the whisk is going to actually fling it to the sides of the bowl, and you'll be stuck with rock hard bits of sugar on the sides of the bowl that will not be incorporated into your meringue. And we want all of that sugar syrup in our meringue. So now that I poured that all in, I'm going to basically walk away for about 5 minutes and come back until this has cooled down and is stiff and glossy, just like this. So the only thing left to do with this meringue is to add our vanilla. I love using like either whole vanilla bean or vanilla bean paste, which is what I'm using here, but you can also use vanilla extract, of course. I just like to see those seeds, especially in a meringue or like any kind of anything with that's white, basically. I like to see those flecks of vanilla bean seeds. That lets people know that it's really high quality. Y'all, I'm showing you this because I want you to see that everybody makes mistakes. I, first of all, overbaked my pie, so it got a crack down the middle like I thought it would. And I also messed up on my meringue amounts, and I had to scrape the entire meringue off the top and throw it in the trash and start all over. So nobody's ever going to know that that happened in this pie except for you guys. But I mean, it just goes to show that you can fix your mistakes. It's not that big of a deal. All right, I'm going to torch this thing up and get it all nice and toasty. If you don't have a kitchen torch, I'll leave a link for that below. It's a great tool to have in the kitchen, and they're very inexpensive, like $20 or so. You could probably also put this under the broiler. I haven't tried it, but if you do, just keep a really close eye on it. So what I'm going to do right now, you could actually serve this up right away. I like my meringue a little on the cold side, believe it or not, for this particular pie, and the pie as well to be cold. So I will put it in the fridge for like an hour or so. And here it is. Look at this pie. Is this not like a showstopper? I mean, come on. Even if you don't do the full amount of meringue and you want to just do half the meringue, that is perfectly fine. You don't even have to do the meringue. You could just put whipped cream on top, or maybe ice cream if you wanted to. I don't know. I just feel like sweet potatoes and marshmallow go together, and meringue is basically marshmallow, kind of like it. and it is just a fabulous, fabulous pie, whether you put the meringue on or not. Enjoy.